I'm watching Neil here on video and was just checking his tranny out. So yeah, let's take a look at that transmission again, Neil. See what you got here. If I can find my arrow. Yeah, let me see if it'll back up. There we go. Let's just, once you get the camera focus here, we'll pause it. So anyway, these things right here are your sliders, and that's what your shift fork's right in, and that engages either your fourth gear or your third gear. So this is your fourth and third gear slider. This is your gear. This is your synchro hub that presses onto the gear, and there's your synchronizer. Now the third gear synchronizer, you can see right here, there's not a real big space between the hub and the synchronizer, and usually that's a good indication that the synchronizer is worn out. You can also look at the bottom of the synchronizer and see if it's contacted the synchro hub. And if it has, that means that it's either been forced over the hub or it's time to replace. The one gear that you showed that was missing is called the they call those dogs. Some people call them dogs, but when those get rounded off, that'll keep this slider piece here from engaging over the hub. And the synchronizer slows down to match the hub, and then the hub or the slider slides over the synchronizer in the synchro hub, and that's what locks it into gear. Now, what a lot of guys will do in the Volkswagen world is those little hubs, the little gears on the synchro hub will get rounded off or worn, and that'll cause it to grind as it goes into gear, or it'll cause it to pop out of gear if they get rounded. You can take a punch and break those off with a hammer, of course, while the gear is on the bench, and take the affected ones off, and it'll shift again. Now, the proper way would be to press a new synchro hub on, of course, but some guys choose to break the good ones off and leave the good ones, or break the bad ones off and leave the good ones. And on a Volkswagen, you'll have the ones that have been hidden. You can break those off and it'll find brand new ones to hit the next time. So you can do that. It's a practice used to get the slider to engage over the synchro hub. So that might be something that you want to replace, or you can leave, whatever. And yeah, and the gear that's worn there, that's definitely enough gear wear there to cause the noise issue. That's probably more than likely your gear wind. So I decided to put this little video up for you since I can't type. But I did watch the video, and I think you're getting ready to show the broken piece here. So we'll pause it when you get to that. Well, you can see the synchro rings right here, and this is what slows down and gets in time with that piece. And let me back that up a little bit. You can see right there is where you're talking about where they broke it off, and as these get rounded, what will happen is as the synchro matches the speed of the hub, this slider will clip as it goes over the hub. So you can either remove the damaged ones and leave the good ones. Naturally, you got to have a certain amount of these for it to hold. You can take certain ones off, but you got to have enough to hold the power. So on a Volkswagen, this particular synchro ring is pressed onto the gear. Now I don't know on a MG box or a Triumph box if this synchro hub is pressed on the gear, if it's a part of the gear. More than likely it's pressed on. It's a serviceable part. These are what we weld to the actual gear when we drag race the car, so they'll hold the power. The car is actually driven off of this right here, off these little gears. This determines the gear ratio, and this locks the gear into drive mode. So this is what's transferring the power, the slider and this piece. So if you take too many of those pieces off, you weaken the ability for the car to hold the power. And if you overpower this press on fit to the gear on a Volkswagen, this piece will actually spin on the gear. And that's what they're talking about when they say weld third and fourth gear. Usually fourth gear, the gear ratio is too steep for that to happen. that occurs more in third and fourth gear when you're putting a load on the transmission and applying the power. But here's your first and second gear slider here. This is your reverse gear, obviously. This is your synchro. This is your hub. This is your gear. And you got quite a bit of gear. I was telling you, these boxes are sort of famous for doing that to the gear. They wind it down, and eventually that third gear, what'll happen next, you'll get that winding noise, and then the next thing to happen will be that thing will be popping out of gear. You'll have to actually hold it in gear. It'll want to drive the, you know, the slider off of the gear. So I'd replace that gear for sure. The one you're pointing at there, third, is definitely bad. And you can check and see your space here between your hub and your synchro is pretty tight. So chances are this synchro needs to be replaced also. The new synchros, you know, they got a little distance between the hub and the synchronizer. And what happens is it's like a cone-shaped hub, and as the synchronizer slows down and spins and rides down on the hub, it slows it down and lines it up with these and lets the slider slide over. So hopefully that'll help you a little bit, Neil, and hopefully the other guys won't be too aggravated with video on video. You know, I was just trying to explain it to Neil by looking at the pictures. And here again, we're looking at the wear on the gear. You can see it's more towards one side, and this is from applying power to this gearbox. This car's been run pretty hard before, and normally this is what happens. It wears the gear, and not a straight across pattern. It's sort of angled. If you see the root here, the bottom, this looks like the box might have been set together a little too tight. So, you know, that's just what I can tell from looking at the pictures. But I'm sure if you take that thing apart, we can help you over the internet and over the phone to straighten it out. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's I think your shift forks are fixed in the top of the transmission, so they're a little more easy to adjust. When you set the fork up, you just want to make sure it rides in the center of the slider, you know, not loaded to one side or the other, and that's pretty easy to do. But everything else looks pretty basic, and you're just going back to yakking. So let me shut this off. I'll upload it and talk to you later. Give me a call, or we can Skype or something.